I want to remind you once again that cards are being circulated for the audience, and you are asked to write your questions down, and Marilyn and Michelle are in the back, and I see Paul waving as well. If you need cards, they can bring them to you. They will collect them, and when we get to the Q&A section, I'll be reading those questions for the candidates. Once again, they'll have 2 minutes to respond to questions from you, the audience. Our next candidate is Diana Lynn Hill.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diana Lynn Hill. And I'm not an everyday politician. I'm a different breed of candidate. I come from a military background. My father was a Special Forces soldier in a unit called Delta, Project Delta in Vietnam. They were disbanded in 1970. They were the mother of Delta Force. I say that because I was raised with some very attention to detail ways of life. My dad's ethics, his care for the world around him, that was bred in me. I cannot put it any other way. The values of leadership that come with that are loyalty, duty, respect, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. And to go around our community and to knock on the doors and to learn the statistics as we do the research to be up here, it's come to my attention that when 76% of the people are not voting, as they aren't at the last election, the primary in May, when I go door to door, they're saying something. Their spirit is like stepped on from the years of systematic abuses locally with the government. And we're talking about economic development today. And I grew up and I had ideas to be an entrepreneur. The company I have is called Angels Happy Home Network. Because after years of learning about the Real Estate Investors Association of Northern Ohio and having dreams of buying and selling real estate locally, learning about all the government programs for grants and tax incentives to develop those homes, you grow to learn what you can and can't do in Northeast Ohio. And the spirit for a lot of people is that, why try? And that has to be touched as a leader in Cuyahoga County. I respect and appreciate every person in this room and every ounce of energy that you provided to every collaborative. I admire everyone's spirit, and I hope and look forward to working with everyone in the future. But the first thing I think we need to do is an extreme makeover of Cuyahoga County, the public servants, and the attitude of the families in Cleveland. They need to know that they're put first. No matter what we do, if they're not inspired and their attitude is down, they're not going to want to try. I believe, according to the statistics, in 1990 to 1993, we came out of the recession by investing in small businesses. I would like to provide small business bridge resources to entrepreneurs across Northeast Ohio. I believe in supporting the education collaboratives that are currently in place for next generation jobs, such as the ones at Cleveland Clinic that are available, and the science, technology, education, and math collaboratives that are currently going on. I strongly believe that they will help. But if we disempower our citizens at the door of every social service program at the schools that they go to, it's not conducive to growth. I believe in global innovations and in inviting global business to Cuyahoga County. I believe that everyone from felons who are interested in doing small business here, minorities, to franchise owners should be invited to come here. But if the attitude of our people is not inspired by our leaders, then we're going in circles. And I believe that should be our number one mindset, is to take care of our own and take care of our families. I have a vision to bring military leadership to the table, and I would like to start with ethics training for all the public servants and how to be inspiring and motivating to our citizens at all of these organizations. We have beautiful work at the here with Cuyahoga County, excuse me, with the Cuyahoga County Next advisors. I admire all the work that you've done. I also would like to invite the new council to partake in other strategies that are proposed under the Government Innovators Network to invite economic development in the areas of green development, venture, and bringing in venture capitalists. In my world, they're better known as angel investors, to help entrepreneurs cross that bridge. Also, I'd like to ask some of the lenders in Northeast Ohio to work on providing small loans to small businesses. In Northeast Ohio, if you want to start a small business like a storefront, and you only need $5,000 to $20,000 to get going, it's next to impossible if you don't have foundations already set to cross that bridge of getting that funding. And I would like to help provide that bridging for those entrepreneurs, instead of being denied because the loans are up at $100,000 when you need a lot less to get going. I believe that the county executive should be capable of making command decisions, inspiring our people, and motivating them to achieve the American dream. I believe that every citizen in Cuyahoga County deserves to have their spirit uplifted so that they can achieve these dreams. In order to do this, I believe that at all levels of our government, we need to effectuate Business 101 management. Expectations need to be known. We need to strategize, plan, and execute, and not just sit around tables talking about what we would like to do, with a mission-oriented mindset. I believe that we should collaborate all resources and provide open government operations. I believe there should be no more backroom deals for the government contracts that are available. And I would like to provide open, free training to any entrepreneur who would like to be a contractor for the government contracts, so that they can have the opportunity to mitigate the droves of paperwork that come with being a contractor and to get into the process. The disillusioned attitude of many people to partake in the opportunities is what is devastating in Northeast Ohio. Our public servants that run all these philanthropic organizations and government operations should promote high standards to those people by treating them with respect and at the highest ethical standards. We have great aspects of tourism, which you cited recently, and I think that the list is absolutely phenomenal. I love going to Whiskey Island. It's a great place to go on the lakefront. But most people don't know about it in the neighborhoods. It's hard for them when they're living from paycheck to paycheck to get past that rat race of life. And I believe that we need to invest in the idea of encouraging them to partake in the opportunities. And also globally, there was an idea that was considered. Franchise owners, Walt Disney World resorts, they go around the world, and we're a cold area, but they're in their industry. They have the film industry. They also have educational opportunities. And in collaboration with all of our world-class educational institutions and certifications for training and tourism, it would be a phenomenal thing if we could find a franchise owner or somebody who's interested in buying the Walt Disney World Resort franchise and bringing that here to Cleveland. But we have to invite that, and the first thing we have to start with is the extreme makeover of reforming Cuyahoga County's attitude and that of the people and the citizens in Northeast Ohio. I'm here for the families, for the children, and most importantly, the 76% of the voters who are tired of politics as usual in Northeast Ohio. I'm here to stand up and respect them by being a leader by example and providing the best ethics and accountability that Northeast Ohio has ever seen. Thank you, and God bless.
We have three final candidates to speak to you today. The next in line is Victor Voinovich.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
And I lied, it's afternoon, I apologize. I didn't realize how late it was. Thank you so much for coming out and being a part of this program today. And I want to thank Peter Lawson-Jones for his leadership in the Cuyahoga Next program, and for all of the people that have done so much for this county over the many years. The reason I stand here today, ladies and gentlemen, is because I am just so excited about what this county has in its bailiwick of things that it can accomplish. I am amazed at all of the ideas that people have. People have been calling me with ideas that are spectacular, ideas that, for whatever reason, haven't been heard of. And what the economic development initiative in this county needs to be about, it's not we're going to spend 2% on economic development, or we're going to spend $100,000 on this or that. What we need is a coordinated program for economic development. And it starts with all of you, because the greatest natural resource in the whole world is the human mind. And we have not put that to work. We have not taken it for what it is and utilized it. Now, one of the key ingredients, okay, to any change that's going to happen in this county is we need to develop a culture of trust. Stephen Covey said, the speed of trust, it's the one thing that can change everything. And so what we need to do is develop that trust, and that's what's going to spawn the leadership that's going to take us forward. This morning, I met with the editors of the Plain Dealer, and I unveiled a new vision. It's called Transforming Cuyahoga County, the 2020 vision of Vic Voinovich. This is a 7-point program that encapsulates certainly many of the ideas that have already been presented today. But what's different about this is this sets a vision for the next 10 years that will make this county one of the 10 best places to live, work, or raise a family in this county. You know, you talk about raising a family. I have 4 children. And by the way, I should introduce my wife. She's out there. Hi, honey. Thanks for coming. That lady there. Been married to her for 42 years. Couldn't have the children without her. 12 grandchildren, and I'm concerned about those kids going to college, coming back here, and wanting to be with Grandpa and Grandma. That's a big concern of mine. I want these people to want to come back here for the right reasons, because there's a job, there's good economic impact here, there's good things for their children when they start to raise their families, my great-grandchildren. What we need to do in this county is get excited about it, and I am excited about it, and the reason is this plan was written by some of the brightest people in this county. And some of them were involved, and Peter Lawson-Jones knows this. Laz Cosman was one of the authors of this program. And we took what Cuyahoga Next did and melded it into 7 points that we believe will change this county for the next 10 years. And by the way, this election, okay, is one of the most important that will ever happen in this county's history. You guys, you voters, in November of 2009 made the commitment to change it. And now what we've got to do is really change it. And so what we need is we need leadership that understands what that's going to take. I'm a businessman, and I've sold almost $1 billion worth of real estate out of this county. I have made my living selling this county to others. I mean, an example would be the Randall Park Mall. And I see Paul nodding his head. We met with Paul very early on with that project. That project alone has the opportunity to create 2,000 jobs over the next 3 years. And it's an opportunity that was only made by virtue of the fact that I was able to bring somebody from a foreign country into our state, our city, and our county to make a sale that will change that area in Randall Park Mall area forever. And it's going to be a mixed-use project which will encapsulate many, many things. Okay, what our vision to change this county over the next 10 years, it's really about growing the economy, smarter and better government, and uniting the region. That's what it's about. And we have this plan, which we believe is going to do a number of things. First of all, any existing business that sees this plan is going to get really excited. They're going to say, we want to expand here. The next thing is entrepreneurs who are on the fence thinking about, hey, should I start this business or not? They're going to get off the dime and do it because they're going to see how it's going to work. The county's youth who are thinking about, hey, should I stay here or I should move somewhere else? Maybe I should go to Chicago. Everybody talks about Chicago. Well, I want them talking about Cuyahoga County. I want them talking about Cleveland. Employees that are going to come to work here. When they come to work here and get hired by me and the 11 members of the council, they're going to buy into this plan. Because if they don't, then they can't work here. This is the plan that we're going to mobilize this county, and my job is going to be selling it to the 11 council members and all of the people in this county so that they all get behind it. We have too much fragmentation. We have too many one-offs. What you heard about today were what I call one-offs. What we need is a coordinated set of visions that will revolutionize this county. I mentioned the first one, which is developing the culture of trust. Without trust, nothing happens. And you cannot have collaboration. Everybody talks about collaboration, okay? But you can't have it without trust. I'm just going to grab a little bit of water here. That's mouthy here. But trust is extremely important to make all of that happen. Awe-inspiring job creation. Awe-inspiring job creation. The way we can create jobs in this county is to get our arms around what our strengths are, build on those strengths, and invite the various segments of our economy to join forces so that we're not going in 10 different directions. You know, one of the people up here mentioned something about Cuyahoga Forward. You know, in reality, we don't need another organization. I think we've got too doggone many organizations in this county, and I think what we need to do is we need to eliminate the red tape. I don't want another organization. What I want to do is have the county be the convener for economic development in this county. And the reason, and the government should be the convener, and the reason for it is that's what this government should be about. People say, well, you know, 2% of the budget's going to go for economic development. No. Forget about the money. We need to convene the people that can change the way this government and county can work together for economic development. And one of the things that the key ingredients of this plan is that it creates collaborations with other governmental agencies, the private sector, social services, not-for-profits, the educational institutions at all levels, and the citizens themselves. I talked about 2 of the 7. Education to promote economic development. Of course, without education, without smart people, we'll never get anything done. Leveraging regional assets. We have assets here that it makes me sick. You know, we talk about the lake, we talk about the university circle, we talk about all of the various things. We have not used those to the best of our ability, and we need to start doing it, and we need to start doing it quickly. Access to credit. Somebody mentioned Cuyahoga Bank. Well, you know what? We are going to create vehicles to generate money. We have the resources here. The thinking has to change. We have the ability to attract money and get money to start the small businesses, to start the organizations that will change the job situation in this county. Telling our story to the global economy, we need to get the word out. Somebody said that already, and that's something that we're going to work very hard on. And we need to reinvent the county government. The government needs to change, and that's where a lot of the money for the economic development is going to come from. I see my time's running out. We're going to, in the next several weeks, we're going to be making stops along the county, showing people how those 7 things are going to change the county. Thank you very much.
I would ask Marilyn and Michelle again to raise your hands. Any member of the audience that would have a question, please see them so that this is the last call. We'll be collecting those cards and sorting them and bringing them forward for our question and answer session after Mr. Casey makes his remarks. Next up is Terri Hamilton Brown.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. To Commissioner Jones, I can barely see you, but to Commissioner Jones and the Cuyahoga Next advisors, thank you for hosting this forum and for your work over the last several years at really advancing an agenda for economic development in our county. My vision for our county, like others you've already heard today, includes a vibrant core city, a developed lakefront that provides access to our residents and also is a source of revenue to our community, a strong economy that's fueled by educational and workforce opportunities that really are preparing our citizens for the jobs of the future. My vision also includes an open government, one that involves stakeholders, both citizens and businesses, yes, our county council, and the elected officials of all the municipalities coming together to create a shared vision for our county, a vision that builds upon, as we've heard already, our assets. We need to use our assets as a resource, but a resource for the purpose of creating opportunity for all of us. That is the vision that I hold. And I hold a degree in economics from the University of Chicago, a master's in city planning from MIT, and I've used those degrees and that learning over the last 25 years in the area of community and economic development, sort of building our community. I actually define my work and myself as a community builder. I'm not a politician, but I have been a civic leader in this community. And in fact, of all of the candidates running for the executive office, I am the one person who's actually led a troubled public entity through a turnaround and got really positive results and moved the agency to a place that it was contributing and being a vital partner in our community. And if elected to this job, I would approach my work in the very same way, of creating a shared vision for our community, setting out a plan with others, and then executing it and delivering results. So as I think about our county taking on a greater role in economic development, my sense is that first we must function well as a county government, that we will not fully achieve the dream of creating new jobs, of expanding jobs, of a real prosperous regional economy that we want if we are not able to function well as a county government. So focusing on the reform that was envisioned in the charter is obviously primary to the work that we're going to set out in front of us. I believe businesses will not come in the volume or scale that we think. They will not expand in the ways that we want unless they have confidence in our government. unless they believe that we are operating with good, strong management practices, being good stewards of tax dollars, and have really created a culture of ethical behavior. And so we would set out to do all of that. I have literature here, and I would ask that you look at it related to my overall platform. It's a platform that speaks to economic development, health and human services, making government more accountable, and restoring public trust. In the area of economic development, however, stimulating our economy is not going to be easy, obviously. There is no one single silver bullet, and we've heard lots of ideas. What I believe is that our county should not be the sole responsible entity for stimulating the economy or creating all these new jobs that we hope, but we should be a strategic partner. It really is the private sector that's the primary generator of jobs, but in times like these, we know that government has a special role in providing some stimulus, or as I said already, being a strategic partner. And how can we partner? I believe workforce development is an important place. It is the seam between the county's role in these important health and human services, social services, and economic development. Our task is to help our citizens who are either unemployed or underemployed be prepared, get prepared for the jobs of the future. And I believe we should provide leadership and direction in what those industry sectors are that we want to invest in, that we want to encourage. And I suggest that they also be built around our assets, whether it's in healthcare, biomedicine, biotechnology, biomanufacturing, or our lake as a great asset, whether it's in clean energy and wind turbines or solar projects that are actually underway. Advanced manufacturing, small business, as we've already talked about, and local supply chain is an area that we should invest in. And another industry sector that we don't talk enough about, but certainly is a place for future growth, is in arts and culture and perhaps destination recreation. We really, I think, have much to offer in that area based on our institutions or our location right here on this Great Lake. Other areas for strategic partnership is in the area of place-based strategies, and what I mean by that, we've already talked about it a bit. The land bank is an incredible tool here, and Don talked about it, but I think it can be used for economic development, along with our brownfield remediation programs. We could look at large industrial buildings in the core city, as well as some of these dead malls out in the suburbs. We could use our county's land bank as a tool to acquire these properties, raise them, and re-subdivide them to have development sites that are ready to become the new home for a call center or a light manufacturing facility, a place where businesses who are considering coming to Cleveland could get a ready start, not a delayed start, as they have often been hampered to look for quality sites. Other ways of coming together would be through countywide land use planning, absolutely a way to counteract fragmented growth that exists today. We could use transportation as a catalyst. The project that I recently worked on, Opportunity Corridor, is just that. Working with the Ohio Department of Transportation, we are planning a 3-mile boulevard that would extend I-490 out to University Circle, an engine in job growth in our community that really is landlocked, if you would. And by using this new transportation corridor, we are providing improved access to almost 200 acres of land, again, land that could be made ready, development ready, for companies that are looking to locate here. Now, all of these ideas and things that will come out in this economic development plan need significant resources that are not currently available or assigned to economic development. And I would propose that new dollars coming into the county whether it's from the casino or other sources, be dedicated for economic development and workforce development and not used for operations. I mean, if we want to have an impact, we're going to need a large pool of dollars to be able to address the things that we have planned. In the last moments, I guess I would suggest that we absolutely have to make the connections between the work of the county in health and human services and economic development. I mentioned it as workforce development and training people, but there are other areas as well, whether it's helping ex-offenders get jobs. That really is an important topic that has to be addressed in our community. Helping ex-offenders live productive lives not only reduces our costs, but it helps to fuel our economy. Community and economic development is where I have spent my career. I don't believe that we need new nonprofits. We need a shared vision. We need collaboration amongst all the partners, whether it's government, business, civic organizations, community organizations, in working on a shared vision for this community. In the past, all of our communities, our 57 municipalities have worked. They have worked in their own interests. There's nothing wrong with that. But for us to grow into progress, we have to become one Cuyahoga County with a shared vision. Thank you.
I feel like the timekeeper at a Cavs game here. We have one final candidate, Mr. Paul Casey. Prior to his coming to the microphone, I would ask Michelle and Marilyn to give the cards to Greg so that he can do the pre-sort. And then immediately following that, we'll open this up for questions and answers. Mr. Paul Casey.
Hello. Moses and Jesus were out for a round of golf. They had come up on a water hole. It was a par 4, and in order to make par, you had to drive the water hole. Moses was up first, and he decided to lay up, and so he hit the ball, just shy of the water. And Jesus had come up, and he decided that he could make the drive over the water hole. Moses advised him against it, but he went for it anyways, and sure enough, splash, it went in the water. So he decided that he'd rather have that shot over, and I guess in golf what you can do is go out and pick your ball up and bring it back to the tee and hit it again. You're penalized a stroke. So that's what he decided to do, but he asked Moses for a favor. Hey, Moses, could you do your thing? Help me out, part the waters for me. So he decided that Moses said, Jesus, I'll do that for you, but just this one time. So he went out, and Jesus was able to pick up his ball, and he drove. He was teed up again, and Moses advised him again. He said, Jesus, if you drive that again, I'm not going to part the waters for you if you hit it in the water. And he was confident, and he hit the ball, and sure enough, back in the water hole. So he asked Moses, and Moses said, I told you I wasn't going to help you this time. So Jesus walked out, and he decided, he did his thing. He walked across the water to get his ball again. Was his best option at that point. And the group coming up behind them was a little bit shocked to see. So, who's that guy think he is? Jesus Christ? And Moses says, he is Jesus Christ. He thinks he's Arnold Palmer. My name is Paul Casey. I'm a 22-year resident of Ohio, a 14-year resident of Cuyahoga County, and I'm here as a servant of God, Jesus Christ, and the people of faith throughout this community. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present some ideas to you today, for the gracious invitation. My decision in running for county executive is based on a concern for our county and trends that are adversely affecting our country. In meditating in Christ, I have discerned a calling to stand up and utilize my God-given strengths to help make progress and promote prosperity here in our region. In my 40 years here on the planet, I have worked hard in competition and dedicated to dealing fairly with people. I have proven my desire to champion winning teams and developed leadership skills that have proven to accomplish goals. The challenges that we face as a community are not new, and though unique to our geographic location, they are problems we also face as a nation. But thanks be to God, who always leads us in triumph in Christ and manifests through us the odor of the knowledge of him in every place. For we are the aroma of Christ for God among those who are being saved and among those who are perishing. To the latter an odor of death that leads to death, to the former an odor of life that leads to life. Who is qualified for this? For we are not like the many who trade on the word of God, but as out of sincerity, indeed, as God and in the presence of God, we speak in Christ. I'd like to talk a little bit about spirit and about winning attitude, about fortitude. All of these things we can gain through Christ. The Holy Spirit can work miracles inside each one of us. The Holy Spirit who proceeds from the Father and the Son. We are on a precipice. As a nation, as a community, we are on a precipice. We can follow a path of anxiety, or we can follow a path of hope. So we make the right choices, we choose the right road and find out, hey, this is hard. Or perhaps we can see the road ahead and, hey, this looks a little steep. Not sure what I want to do here. Maybe we want to go back. So we make the hard decisions. Ironically, even if we choose the right road, we are never far from the next valley or fjord, from the next obstacle, from the next stumbling block. Only through faith can we overcome sin and temptation that will always be present. Satan waits for us to turn our backs on God. Winning spirit, attitude, fortitude. How does an amputee complete a marathon? How does a single mother go to work, go to school, and care for her family? How does a team win a national title? How do we climb the mountain? It cannot be done alone. It takes courage and strength, it takes cooperation, and it takes knowledge and faith that something greater than ourselves is helping us through this difficult life. The Cuyahoga County Charter lays out principles and rules for the structure of our local government. It was voted on and approved by the people. It contains a system of checks and balances similar to our United States Constitution. It lays a foundation for a system of economic development to enhance the prosperity and well-being of the county. As the newly elected county executive, I will lead the way in promoting initiatives that lead to real growth for our community. After reviewing the action plan created by the Blue Ribbon Task Force, I suggest making changes to the strategies and priorities as set forth in the report. The action plan is a valuable resource, and in determining where we have been, where we are going, and how to get there. It sets goals and benchmarks. It represents a bona fide effort by our civic leaders to grow this community and create assets for successful enterprise. It is, however, complex in nature and difficult for citizens to comprehend. I would like to thank the leaders and advisors and organizers for their time and efforts in this collaboration. The programs I propose will create jobs. Number one, future for our youth, health, education, wellness, and competition. I propose to increase high-quality, low-cost resources for our schools, challenge the practice and constitutionality of local school boards who choose to eliminate sports and transportation or on a fee basis, which creates an inequitable balance of privileges and services. Building and infrastructure. I propose to work with local, state, and federal governments, including the Army Corps of Engineers, to reconfigure Interstate 90 to allow access and open land along the lakefront. I propose to increase the surface area or frontage in 3 main areas throughout the county to create a system of inland waterways, lakes, locks, and wetlands. The waterways will act as a stimulus for economic development and channels for tying our industrial areas together with the main port of Cleveland. Both residential and commercial areas will become available along the waterfront, increasing commerce and property values in the most needed areas of the county. Agribusiness. I propose to partner with all 88 counties in Ohio to become the world leader in biodiesel production. With the Port of Cleveland instrumental as an epicenter for this emerging natural, renewable, and sustainable alternative energy, Cuyahoga County will emerge as the leader in our nation's economic recovery. The demand for diesel nationwide is in excess of 42 billion barrels a year. My name is Paul Casey. You can check out my website at www.paulcasey.us. Thank you very much.
apologies to the founders. Ms. Hamilton Brown just announced that she must leave, so we'll arrange the reverse order of answering the questions accordingly. But as I was indicating, with apologies to our founders, e pluribus unum, we have one microphone for these many. So in the spirit of fairness, once again, we'll ask Mr. Casey to answer, and others may choose to, as they wish, to respond to the questions. You'll have 2 minutes to complete your answers. I would only ask that you stand because this podium here does obscure the view of the candidates that are sitting directly behind it. The first question is, developing strong neighborhoods has been mentioned by several candidates. How do you propose to promote strong neighborhoods and connect people at diverse backgrounds? Of diverse backgrounds. Mr. Casey.
Test, test, test. You can hear me? How do we propose to create jobs for the most needy neighborhoods in the area? The proposal of creating inland waterways is new, but I think it's the innovation that we need here. Some of the ideas that have been set forth have been to invest in the waterfront, but we're trying to invest in the areas that are already developed, and that's very costly. I think the innovative idea of investing in the neighborhoods that are most needy and creating these waterways, these are areas that are more affordable. We can redevelop. The land cost is low. The people in those neighborhoods are the ones that are in need of help and attention. So I think that speaks directly to the question.
Thank you. Mr. Voinovich, would you choose to respond? Sure. If you could state it.
Sure.
The question is, how do you propose to promote strong neighborhoods and connect people of diverse backgrounds?
Well, one of the things that this county is very rich on are neighborhoods, and what we need to do is celebrate that. It's something that we should, the county is very diverse. We have people that have come here from all over the world. Our ancestors, my grandparents were immigrants, and we need to celebrate the way in which neighborhoods function together. One of the things that is in our Vision 2020 is just that very thing. We're talking about building up our neighborhoods in a way that will employ people, will make people, put people in a position where they're safe, where they're working, and where they're prospering, again, making it a good place to live and raise their families. I mean, we have an opportunity here in this county to really go in and improve what's already there. And we all know where there's room for improvement. And we need to work very, very hard at doing that. And it gets back to what I had said in my remarks earlier, that the county is really a convener of things that can happen in this county. Not that the county is going to do everything, but it's the vehicle by which we're going to bring people together to actually do it. So,
thank you very much, sir. Let me reset. Ms. Hill, would you choose to comment?
One of the things that I work with a lot is citizen activism with the community development in the city of Cleveland. Currently, our councilman is sending over 400,000 of our community development block grant funds out of our ward. That was exposed last week. If you want to invite participation from your neighborhoods and promote and connect the diverse neighborhoods, you got to start taking care of your own in your neighborhoods. It starts within, at your home, connecting with your neighbor next door, and promoting, inspiring the people to work together. You start with the block club, and you move down the street, and then it starts with the community. If your leadership develops that, you'll have more of it. You see it in neighborhoods like Tremont. How many of you attended Taste of Tremont? It was beautiful. It was nice. It was an excellent show for the world. But what people miss is that there are other things going on in the neighborhood, and the citizens are working together via basic leadership, phone trees, talking to their neighbors, meet your neighbor nights, and that's extraordinary. When people can't get from here to there in the community, providing rides to each other, but making all those resources accessible. And if I become Cuyahoga County executive, my goal would be to promote, first and foremost, an open calendar of every event in Cuyahoga County in the year. And that's a task because there's tons of programs that are promoting uncountable things. But people can't attend if they don't know what's going on. So I would like to have a filtering system on that calendar available to everyone. And I would like to promote ethical considerations by the leadership. We can't do what our councilman did and send the money elsewhere if we want our people to believe in us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Mr. Ellison, do you choose?
I think there are about three things that are important to neighborhoods. Well, maybe four. I think the neighbors are probably the most important element in creating great neighborhoods. But the county's role in doing that primarily, I think, has to be to establish safety in the neighborhood, and to what extent the sheriff's office can lend a hand, or the consolidation or cooperative efforts we do with municipalities to provide better police and security protection. That's one big part of the county's role. Another hugely important thing is to have public schools that we want to send our children to, that we can send our children to, and not feel like they're being they're losing out by being sent to that school versus a private school or some other school system somewhere. So we need to provide security and decent schools. And the other element is that if we're going to live in these neighborhoods, if we're going to afford to buy our houses and pay our mortgages or pay rent, we have to have jobs. So schools, security, and jobs. This is what's going to make neighborhoods in Cuyahoga County decent places to live and great places to live.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am, the questions were previously recorded and have been assembled, but we can get another card if we have time. We'll get you a question. Mr. McCormack, would you choose to answer the question? And for the audience, I'll repeat it. How do you?
I've got to give it.
Okay, you do? Yeah. Well, let me do it for the audience. How do you propose to promote strong neighborhoods and connect people of diverse backgrounds?
It's going to be very expensive and difficult, and any representation otherwise I don't think adds up. For example, the land bank, which I think is a key to improving neighborhoods. The quotation I got last week is $150 million to acquire and clean up just the residential properties that are out there. Is it worthwhile? Absolutely. It's going to, though, take truth in shifting priorities. The early childhood program, which is, as I co-chaired it, the most important social initiative in this community. It got half of the funding from this Cuyahoga Next group that it requested. It's going to be very expensive to start educating children from birth on through, and I fully agree with Don, at least the third grade, multiple tens of millions of dollars. We're going to have to carve that out as a high priority. Thirdly, it is interesting how much pushback we've received about education policy. When you say the county is not the primary provider of education dollars or policy, people don't want to hear that. They want the county very much more involved in helping shore up quality of education. lastly, workforce development, whether it's the clinic or small manufacturing plants, the employers of those regions have got to design that workforce development policy.
Mr. Scipione.
Thank you. Tim, totally, we're on the same page. My numbers are about the same, maybe a little higher, but I believe that the people of Cuyahoga County will look at this as an investment that is going to reap a lot of benefits downstream. So you have to do that. I'm from Cleveland Heights. I've lived in Cleveland Heights since I was 2. That's 65 years. I've lived in the same house in Cleveland Heights since I was 2. I was there during the White Flight. Cleveland Heights is managed among all of the cities in the county to have and sustain a diverse neighborhood. And we celebrate that in Cleveland Heights. We're also a nuclear-free zone. I don't think that has anything to do with the diversity, but I'll tell you what does have something to do with the diversity. And residents and homeowners don't exactly like this, but we've got code enforcement. Code enforcement that keeps our housing stock in shape. And I believe that that is something we have to do countywide with the judicial system and some laws from council and urging the cities to do their code enforcement. I think that's how we can maintain a strong and diverse community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dolan.
Thank you. The charter already anticipates connecting diverse neighborhoods. Unlike our current form of government, we are also going to have 11 council members coming from 11 different parts of the county. So for the first time, as we engage in policy that's going to impact the county, all of us will be represented at the table. The city of Cleveland, the inner ring suburbs, and the outer ring suburbs. So through that communication, through that discovery of what the impact is on, let's say, East Cleveland versus what the impact is on Mayfield, will be refreshing and rewarding and for the first time open as to what we're going to accomplish. Relationships with each of the cities, primarily the city of Cleveland and the county government, needs to improve so that we have an understanding of what works in each neighborhood. And we have to focus on broad policies agenda that raises the whole. To raise the whole, you need to make sure that we are safe, that there are jobs and you can get to the jobs, and that we are creating an environment for people to feel that this is a place for them to live and to grow and to work. So it's a combination of communication, it's a combination of representation throughout the whole county that we can bring the county together.
And Mr. Lanci.
Thank you. I agree with a lot of what was said, but I think most importantly, what we have to be able to do is to make sure that the jobs that are slated to come here do employ the residents of this county. I have made a request to MMPI for all of the jobs that are required for the medical mart so that we can get our workforce program at Tri-C ramped up to be able to fill all of those jobs. I've also requested from Dan Gilbert that list of 8,571 jobs that he's promised to create in our county so that we can also train our residents for that. If we can get that list, and again, I've asked for the list, I am not the executive, but I can tell you if I don't get it by the time I would take office, I would demand that on the second day that I'm there. Because we are not going to give our jobs to people from Detroit, we're not going to give our jobs from people from New Jersey or from Philadelphia. Those jobs are going to stay here for all of our people. If our people are employed, that will raise all of the opportunities for everybody. That will create tax dollars that we need to help people be able to get better properties and integrate where they want to be. The dollars that we have slated, yes, there's a lot for tearing down the properties that need to be torn down. That has to be done. That's over time. But more immediately is to be able to hold the jobs that have been promised in this $2 billion expansion.
Thank you all. I'm mindful of the time, and we are quickly approaching our 1 o'clock hour. Unless the audience indicates otherwise, I'm going to be really a taskmaster on trying to get through. So thinking on my feet and answering these questions, we'll reduce the time of response from 2 minutes to 1 minute. And again, we ask for your indulgence and cooperation on this matter. I think we will be able to get at least two more questions in, and I guess I'm supposed to finish. The next question is, tax incentives have been mentioned. Question, how do you propose to work with state and local organizations to address tax policies and promote business? And in reverse order, Mr. Lanci, and then Mr. Dolan.
Thank you again. The proposal that I put forward is to be able to use the casino dollars for those tax incentives. I would expect that we have to get stuff done at the state legislature in order to be able to do that, and I would look to our legislators to move quickly the things that we need to do to be able to create that and make that happen. All too often in politics, it's one party or another party. I'm not a politician, I'm an independent. And therefore, my only concern is to be able to get done what needs to be done and get it done timely, like we do in business. In that regard, government should operate no differently. So I will impose the will of my office to be able to get that done in a very timely basis for the benefit of all of Cuyahoga County.
Thank you, sir.
I'm the only candidate who has actually worked with state government, so in order to provide tax incentives, you have to do two things. One is, if you're going to work with the state tax, you have to get the state legislator and the governor to sign, but more importantly, we can do something with our local taxes, our local income tax and our local sales tax, to be more aggressive, be more competitive with our neighbors, both our state neighbors and our county neighbors, so that we become more attractive. But the relationship with the state government is extremely important in this job, because not only is economic development a huge part of county government, but the delivery of human services. And most of that money, if not all of that money, comes from the state government or the federal government through the state government. And if you don't have an executive who has statewide experience, who knows how to get the money to make sure it's going to the services that it needs, and maybe equally as important, to get a waiver from the state government so that we are not imposed mandates on us for services that we don't need.
Thank you, sir. If you would pass the microphone then, please, to Mr. Scipione, and then in turn to Mr. Ellison, Mr. McCormack.
Thank you for the question. I have been working for the last 13 years with Midtown Cleveland, and in our work for reclaiming property and cleaning property, we've dealt with the state government from all of its branches. We need to work with the state government, and it's very important because that is the source of a lot of our money. Personally, I've worked with the Department of Development. I'm a grantee of Third Frontier funds, and likewise, the federal government is important. And I know how to deal with the federal government in terms of getting grants. But working with the government, I would like to just broaden this a bit, especially state government, because, you know, I talked about the region of the people who had things in common. I didn't include Columbus or Cincinnati. Those people think differently than we do. And they're out there on their own. There's a big bureaucracy in Columbus. And the case in point is the Ohio Department of Transportation. These people, we at Midtown have been fighting for 10 years because they want to close the Prospect and Carnegie ramps to the Intermelt. Can you imagine that? 30% of the access to the city, 60% of the access to Midtown. They are absolutely lunatics.
Thank you. If you would pass to Mr. McCormack.
Well, my feelings are hurt. My distinguished 8 years in the Ohio Senate and 2 years in the Ohio House just wiped away like that. That's tax policy, I think we need to go. I know we've got representatives here from the clinic, and we have manufacturers, whether property taxes, income taxes, whether sales taxes are most important, or none of them, perhaps workforce. That's going to be answered by private persons. We have 6 months to put together a plan, And we're going to ask them, why would they stay here? What would create a job? And find out where tax policy fits.
Mr. Ellison.
I've been told that the tax situation on businesses here in Cuyahoga County is unattractive. I know as a businessman myself, I have conducted business in the county for over 10 years, and frankly, city taxes and state taxes have not been the problem that people tell me they are. If, though, they're unfair or they're not competitive, then we need to work on that, and I would propose to do that. Now, what was the question again?
Well, you have about 30 seconds to answer it. How do you propose to work with state and local organizations to address tax policies that promote business?
I've been a community activist for as long as I've been in Cleveland, and we went up against the state government and stopped a nuclear waste dump they wanted to put here. I've gone up against the county, and we stopped them from tearing down the Ameritrust building. I think with people power, we can do anything we want, and I'll help the people do it. So that's how.
Thank you. Ms. Hill?
I support tax incentives for entrepreneurs and investors in Northeast Ohio. And I would work with both the state and the local governments endlessly to promote business investment in Northeast Ohio. Mr. Dolan, if I win, I would love to hire you to work with the state since you know all the strings down. But I would invite you to partake in that process. But most importantly, at the end of the day, I'll lead by example in everything that I do, and I'll promote ethics with all of our collaboratives and all of our initiatives and everybody who works for Cuyahoga County. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you could pass that, please, to Mr. Voinovich.
I've never been a state representative or a state senator. I'm a businessman. I'm not a politician. And as far as working with the state and the local government, what we really need to do is get in touch with our delegations, work with the Democrats, work with the Republicans, work with anyone who is caring about this county, caring about our city, and work closely with them on policies that will actually help our region. You know, 25% of the revenues of this county go to Columbus. In other words, 25% of the money that goes to Columbus comes from this county. We are the largest county in this state, and what we need to do is we need to set the tone, we need to set the agenda for the state government. We're 10% of the state, and we're sending 25% of the tax revenues to the state of Ohio. And for that, I think we need a lot more attention, and we're certainly going to get it because we're going to lead, and we're not going to take no for an answer.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Casey? You have 1 minute.
Yes, certainly we look for the quick fix, and generally that's not the best way to go. It takes a good long time to turn a ship around. The best way that I can see to decrease taxes is to streamline government as it states in the county charter. We have to have talented people. We have to hire the best, the brightest, who are able to do the job with a limited staff. My administration would work for a budget surplus so that we would justify tax cuts in the future. My philosophy is that to promote business, you need to cut taxes. The economy runs on business. It's a consumer-based economy, and you need to promote business locally, statewide, nationwide. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Casey. In fairness to the audience, there are a number of questions that we certainly wouldn't be able to get through if each of the candidates responded to every question. So we're going to do a little speed dating here, if I could take this liberty. And that is, I'm going to ask a question and then reverse the order. The individual candidate can then answer. I'll go on to the next question, the next candidate. And you'll only have 30 seconds to respond. So hopefully you're clear of mind and of sound of body. The first question then in this speed dating episode is, what should the county do with the Ameritrust Tower? Mr. Casey.
Well, that's a tough one. I think it's one of the best things I think that can happen is to open that up for consideration for the medical mart. If we are moving forward on the medical mart project, one of the things I think we're off track on is the location for the medical mart. Putting the medical mart on the green works against the open space and the layout that the founders of the county had foreseen. So yeah, I think the Ameritrust Tower is a possible location. It's a beautiful building. So I yield my time.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Voinovich, question. Please identify the most important project or business opportunity for this county.
The lakefront, the reason the lakefront has not been developed is because we lack trust in this county. We need to develop a culture of trust. And when we do that, we can develop the lakefront. It's the reason Cleveland and Cuyahoga County are here are because of the Cuyahoga River and Lake Erie. And so what we need to do is we need to collaborate with all of the different organizations, starting with trust at the county level, so that we can get everybody at the table and get it done. We have great plans for the lakefront, but they've never been able to be implemented because when people come to the table, they don't trust each other. And under my administration, we're going to develop that culture of trust.
Thank you. And now to Mr. Ellison. The question is, I'm sorry, Ms. Hill, my bad, as they say. What role does arts and culture play in economic development?
In Northeast Ohio, we have an extraordinary arts culture with the museums. And on that note, I would love to invite a national military museum to Northeast Ohio in honor of all of our veterans and service members across the world, and maybe even use the Ameritrust building for that. Arts and culture are phenomenal parts of it. With education, it empowers our students to express themselves and to grow independently. And when they use their arts and to promote them, they have the art festivals in the local communities. They're great resources for inviting small business investment, which I very much support in Northeast Ohio. And our diverse culture in Northeast Ohio deserves to have the arts supported for each of their diverse communities.
Thank you, Ms. Hill. Question to Mr. Ellison. Several candidates have mentioned projects within the city of Cleveland. How do you propose to work with suburban communities to foster economic development?
Well, I think I mentioned the countywide land use and management plan, and it would be based on that plan that our economic development efforts would be focused. And it may be that most of the work that's to be done is to be done in the city of Cleveland. The city represents about 1/3 of the population and the area of the county, so and it's in the greatest need. And I think that the county has a responsibility to maintain the roads and to make sure that they're plowed and to do that kind of thing. But we also need to work together in our planning and our investments.
Thank you, sir. If you could pass the microphone to Mr. McCormack. Sir, the question is, how do you propose the county assume leadership in education and coordinate with all, I guess it looks like all the other cities in the county?
Very carefully. People don't want you involved generally in their school systems. So we would have to be invited in. In particular, our specialty I mentioned earlier is from birth on through the early grades. We excel, national award-winning program. I think it's the most valuable initiative we've undertaken. But going beyond that, and we've been called to work with adolescents, troubled kids, it would have to be with a working agreement with the community. There's no other way to do it.
Thank you. And Mr. Scipione, the question is, workforce development is a major theme. How do we create a more efficient workforce system?
Well, first of all, I'd like to take back my characterization of the Ohio Department of Development Department of Transportation people, bureaucrats, as lunatics. More appropriately, they're narrow-minded. Workforce development. I have been on the Workforce Development Board for 6 years, being chair of the Economic Development Committee of the Workforce Development Board. During that tenure, we created a slew of programs consolidating the efforts between the city and the county, insisting that the jobs we train for are jobs that are in demand, demand-driven workforce development. That groundwork has been laid. We are reaching out now. I'm not a member, I'm no longer a member of that board, but they are reaching out now to employers to engage them in the process, and that is the best way to ensure the.
Thank you very much, sir.
Created.
Okay. And Mr. Dolan, the question is, many bold proposals have been mentioned, workforce development, entrepreneurship, etc. Is 4 years long enough to take, let me rephrase this. How long will it take to implement these bold programs and projects?
4 years is long enough to lay the foundation to build on a vision that we can accomplish in 10, 15, 20 years. That we establish for individuals, we establish for employers an honest and effective government, that people begin to understand that there is a plan, there is a mission, and that we are annually reporting back and annually showing success, so that these bold and creative ideas, which always cause pain, but we can push through it, and as long as people understand it's being done with public service spirit in mind and with a goal, we can get it accomplished, that part, in 4 years and reap the benefits for years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Dolan. And Mr. Lanci, I'm so proud of myself because I've exhausted all the questions, so you'll have the opportunity to answer one that's already been asked. That is, tax incentives have been mentioned. How do you propose to work with the state and local organizations to address tax policies to promote business?
I think I answered that one. That was my question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Then I'm not proud of myself. Because the other question was, talk about your experience in running something, a private business. Let me kind of call through this quickly and then ask you to identify the most important project and business opportunity for this county.
Well, I've said this from the day that the medical mart was first spoken about. It is the most important asset, income-producing asset that the county has ever engaged in. All too often over the past years, we have engaged in maintenance of income. We built the stadium, we built the arena on the basis of the teams that we already had. We went and we built, the stadium and the ballpark, stadium and the basketball arena. When we did the football arena, Mr. Modell asked for $110 million. We said no. It cost us almost $300 million, okay, to do what we could have done for 110. Bottom line, Medical Mart is the most important income-producing asset the county has engaged in. It will bring new dollars for many events, which will help immensely.
Thank you very much, sir. Apparently, you folks have been to too many of these. I was going to ask you to acknowledge the sacrifice and presentations that all of our candidates here present and those that had to leave early. Just give them another round of applause, if you may. One last reminder before we adjourn, and that is this videotape version will be available not only on the the charter.cuyahogacounty.us website, but also the Department of Development website and the other media, YouTube and I believe Facebook as well. So thank you for your participation. Thank you for your interest. And on behalf of Cuyahoga Next Advisors, Godspeed.